Yair Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu's son, is very salty over the fact that Joe Rogan allegedly refused to have his daddy on his podcast. Now, maybe Rogan just isn't interested in having war criminals on his podcast, who knows? But I thought it would be a great opportunity to get to know who Benjamin Netanyahu's son really is. And he's got a colorful past, to say the least. So for instance, in 2018, Yair was suspended on Facebook for 24 hours for a series of anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian posts, to which I say, of course, as Cenk would say as well. I'm not surprised by that at all. In one, he wrote, do you know where there are no attacks? In Iceland and Japan. That's because there are no Muslims. There are also no Israeli settlers there, which is notable, and we should point that out since he failed to do so.
Yeah.
In another, he wrote, there will never be peace with the monsters in human form known since 1964 as Palestinians. That's interesting because my maternal grandmother's birth certificate, she was born in Haifa in 1937, it says Palestine on it. Just a little note for you all to know about.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cenk. In fact, they've been in Palestine ever since, including, by the way, Jewish Palestinians. On the other hand, the Europeans, like Yair and his father, came much later and have nothing to do with the land there at all. They claim some sort of messianic, lunatic interpretation of Judaism, where they're supposed to steal all the Arab land, and God told them to do that in their interpretation of their religion. Of course, they found the most violent, the most extremist, most disgusting, most terrorist interpretation of their texts, where they kill, butcher, starve, and then take greater Israel, Eretz Israel. Is he going to deny that they're trying to take greater Israel? I mean, it's in the maps. Netanyahu brought it to the UN and proudly displayed it.
Correct.
Well, how do you take greater Israel? By killing the Palestinians and the Arabs on those lands and taking their land from them, or stealing their land from them, okay? And so these guys like Yair are unsurprisingly enormously racist bigots, both against Palestinians and Arabs and against Muslims, right? So then what's hilarious is when he accuses Joe Rogan of anti-Semitism.
I know.
Because Rogan very briefly has pointed out, hey, this looks like a genocide. It looks really ugly when you're starving children to death.
Exactly.
Hey, why did you drop so many bombs on Gaza? And again, super mildly. But of course, this racist kicks in and goes, oh, I'm allowed to be as racist as I want against Palestinians. I'm allowed to hate Muslims and encourage daddy, kill more Muslims, daddy. Kill Muslims for me, daddy, right? And then turns around, anti-Semite. You're a bigot who doesn't like Jews. No, brother, you give Jews the worst possible name. Thank God they're not anything like you. Don't excuse your horrific terrorist actions as something that Jewish people would do. No, none of my Jewish friends or family does that. You have to understand, you're a monster.
Yeah, it gets
and
worse.
It has nothing to do with your religion. It has to do with you as a person. You're a terrible human being.
Now, that same year, 2018, there was a piece published in the Washington Post that I thought was fascinating. It's titled, Netanyahu's son brags about prostitutes, $20 billion deal for friend's dad in strip club rant. Now, he was recorded in conversation where he said a whole host of pretty disgusting, depraved things. I'm gonna give you a few snippets here from the Washington Post piece itself, where they write that he had said, my dad arranged $20 billion for your dad, and you're whining with me about 400 shekels, Yair said, referring to money he borrowed in a strip club. That conversation was about a proposal to split future natural gas drilling proceeds between private and state companies. Critics blasted it as a sign of corruption, which, by the way, as we all know, his father, Benjamin Netanyahu, the current prime minister of Israel, is dragging this genocide in Gaza out because he doesn't want to continue dealing with the corruption trial he's facing in Israel. There's more.
And apparently, by the way, those corruption charges are relatively minor compared to a $20 billion deal. So Yair, you want to give us some testimony? Not us, but the Israeli court system, which is despicably unfair to Palestinians, but is relatively good when it comes to Israeli citizens. You want to give them some evidence about the $20 billion deal and the corruption that it involves? Be interesting.
So there's more where that came from. So in that recording, Yair Netanyahu and his entourage, who were accompanied by a state-funded bodyguard, seem aware of the potential consequences if their conversation became public. If the guard ever left his job, one of the young men joked, he would have to be killed.
Ha ha. Like if somebody were running a blackmail ring for them and then he left his job, I guess he would have to be killed in a US prison. Huh. By the way, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell, legendary Mossad spy, happened to fall off his boat a little bit after people found out about Epstein.
That happens all the time, right, Cenk? People just happen to fall off their boats. Yeah. Okay, anyway, and Bibi, by the way, Benjamin Netanyahu used the same tired arguments he literally uses to defend his own criminal behavior in response to the recording of his son coming out back in 2018. The prime minister has called the release of the recordings part of a media orchestrated witch hunt aimed at ousting him, saying the press had stooped to unprecedented persecution, bloodletting, and shaming, according to the Associated Press.
I mean, you have the nerve to talk about bloodletting?
These guys are like a total joke, the most depraved, disgusting people on the planet.
59,000 dead at a bare minimum in Gaza, 20,000 children. You kill a stadium full of women and children, and then you're going to talk about bloodletting.
Look, to be fair, this was his response to the accusations and the recording coming out in 2018. So it was before the genocide that's taking place in Gaza right now, but nonetheless, I mean.
So first of all, fairest show in America. Thank you for pointing that out. Second of all, by that time, of course, they had already occupied the Palestinians for over 50 years, had brutalized them, and every conflict had killed far more than Hamas terrorists in terms of civilians, far more than Hezbollah terrorists. Every kind of terrorist is outshined by Yair's dad and how many civilians Benjamin Netanyahu murders. So by that time, they'd already done so much bloodletting, and so he has no leg to stand on. But besides which, who the hell are you? Who are you? You're nothing but a loser who's the son of a terrorist. Wow, what credentials? I guess we should all be taking you seriously.
And then finally, we hear that Yair Netanyahu believes that Rogan is Rogan has all sorts of neo-Nazis and anti-Semites on his podcast, but won't have his father on. Allegedly, yeah.
Your poor little daddy.
But obviously he cares deeply about anti-Semitism, which is why back in 2017 he also faced backlash for posting one of the most disgusting anti-Semitic cartoons I've ever seen on social media. I wanted to give you guys a warning before we put it up, but apologies to anyone offended by this. I find it disgusting. I'm offended by it. But this is what he posted on social media. It used an it did use anti-Semitic imagery to portray Jewish billionaire George Soros as the reason for his family's growing legal problems. The meme captioned the food chain, features a photo of Soros dangling the world in front of a reptilian creature who dangles an alchemy symbol in front of a caricature reminiscent of the anti-Semitic happy merchant image. Like these people are just disgusting, okay? Absolutely disgusting. And Ehud Barak, who's
of course, the other Jewish characters in that cartoon as well. And this is what we talk about all the time, which is that this isn't about Jews across the world or Jewish Americans. In fact, AIPAC, an Israeli lobby in favor of Israel, took out Andy Levin, who is comes from the legendary Jewish family in Michigan and was a congressman there. And for the benign comment of we should have a two-state solution. Obviously, Andy Levin's not anti-Semitic, and he's not anti-Israel. He's not anything, but he dared to cross Israel. And on top of that, guys, I mean, I can give you 1,000 examples of that. They're of course against Bernie Sanders. They're against any Jewish American who would dare criticize Israel even in the slightest. So this isn't about Jews. This is about a foreign government And as I told you this in the last couple of weeks, we did this story. It was amazing. I didn't know this. In the 2000s, there was a group that was here active in America on behalf of Israel. They would find lists of students that they considered, and professors that they considered anti-Israel. And so they had Muslims on the list, they had Christians on the list, etc. But they created a separate list of 8,000 Jewish Americans that they said were self-hating, and then SHIT, I forget what the IT stands for, but basically Jews. So these Jews are not good enough because they oppose Israel, or they've slightly criticized Israel.
I see them do that all the time to Dave Smith, to Glenn Greenwald, even to Katie Halper, to all these wonderful Jewish Americans who are willing to call out injustice, who are willing to call out the wrongdoings of the Israeli government.
Yeah, and so the point of that list was to try to get them fired and ruin their careers for opposing Israel. And by the way, if a Muslim or Christian or any other group had a list of 8,000 Jews that they were targeting inside America to ruin their careers and their lives, they'd be considered the worst anti-Semites you'd ever seen.
Absolutely, yeah.
If they made a list of 8,000 Jews to target, again, I'm not sure I can imagine something more anti-Semitic, but Israel does it, and it's okay. It's anti-Semitic to complain about their anti-Semitism. And that cartoon is a good example of it. This has nothing to do with Jews. It has to do with this genocidal government, this extremist government that has taken over the country of Israel. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.